Welcome to tonight's sleep story, the calming legend of Heracles' journey to the Underworld. As you drift into tranquility, join Heracles on his courageous venture into the mystical depths. Guided by a sense of duty and humility, he faces the unknown with calm determination. Let the whispers of ancient mythology gently guide you towards peaceful slumber. Allow your imagination to wander as Heracles' saga unfolds in soothing harmony. And now, let the tale unfold. In the once resplendent courts of Mycenae, where shadows danced on walls aglow with the warm, gentle embrace of a late summer evening, Heracles stood before the throne of King Eurystheus. Despite the flickering torches lending a cozy amber hue to the grand chamber, a palpable tension lingered in the air. For Heracles, this was a moment both humbling and charged with a sense of inevitability, summoned yet again by the king who held his fate as a measure of his own kingdom's power. King Eurystheus, known for his demanding nature and his cautious wariness of Heracles' growing renown, looked down from his elevated seat of power. Reflecting a mixture of awe and unease at Heracles' extraordinary feats, he found himself continually compelled to set tasks he believed impossible. This time, his command was unlike any Heracles had faced before. Eurystheus, drawing upon the depths of his imagination, bade Heracles to enter the somber realm of Hades and capture the formidable Cerberus, guardian of the Underworld. Heracles, a figure of strength and humility, accepted this daunting challenge with a silent nod and a calm visage. His acceptance was not just an act of obedience, it was an understanding. This, the 12th and final labor of those set before him, was a path toward redemption for past deeds done in shadows and a chance to etch his worth into the annals of destiny. With resolve hardening within the silence of the hall, he prepared for the impossible journey. In preparation for this journey into the Underworld, where shadows and whispers reigned, Heracles sought guidance and spiritual grounding. He traveled to a sacred grove, a place untouched by the ravages of time, where ancient trees stood like silent sentinels to the divine. Here, beneath the leaves that danced gently in the evening breeze, he knelt to offer prayers to the gods. "Grant me strength and wisdom," he implored with the earnest humility that had become his signature, "to walk paths untrodden by the mortal foot." From the rustling leaves, as if awakened by his heart prayer, Athena and Hermes emerged, their ethereal presence turning the grove into a realm of divine assurance. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger, regarded Heracles with kindness. They bestowed upon him their guidance, wisdom to navigate the labyrinthine paths of the underworld, and speed to carry out his mission without faltering at the threshold of despair. Under their tranquil gaze, they imparted crucial advice. "Seek the consent and aid of Hades and Persephone," Athena advised, "for with their blessing, the journey shall be smoother, and the guardian may yield to your will." Etching every word into his heart, for the journey required not just strength of arms, but strength of spirit and clarity of mind. The grove now felt like a haven of peace as the eternal twilight deepened around them. With the blessings of the gods warming his heart and fortifying his resolve, Heracles returned to Mycenae one last time, ready to bid it farewell. He looked back at the palace, silhouetted against the amber dusk, acknowledging both the trials he had faced and the challenges that lay ahead. As the first stars blinked into view against a deepening sky, Heracles embarked upon the path leading toward the underworld. Step by resolute step, leaving behind the world of men, he walked towards a realm governed by different rules and ancient powers. He carried with him not just the physical strength that had become his hallmark, but an inner strength fortified by humility and honor. Thus, Guided by the wisdom and divine presence of Athena and Hermes, Heracles began his descent, with the light of duty illuminating his path. Ahead lay the entrance to the Underworld, where whispers of destiny awaited to test the very metal of his soul. Heracles embarked on his journey, leaving the city of Mycenae behind with a heart both resolute and humble. The task ahead was daunting: to venture into the hidden world of the Underworld, a realm shrouded in mystery and governed by the stern god Hades and the benevolent Persephone. His purpose, however, was clear. Guided by the divine insights granted by Athena and Hermes, Heracles knew his path would be fraught with both challenges and revelations. His travels took him across the breadth of Greece, through lands steeped in mythology and histories untold. Each step brought him closer to the edge of the known world and the mysteries that lay beyond. Through villages and across sprawling plains, Heracles moved steadily, the land responding to his presence with tales of wonder about the trials he had already overcome. Despite the journey's length, he maintained an unwavering focus, driven by the sense of duty that bound him to his task. After days of travel, Heracles stood before the edge of the river Styx, a spectral boundary separating the realm of the living from the shadowed lands of the dead. The river lay veiled in an ethereal mist that clung to the air like a whispered legend. It was here that the souls of the departed would begin their final journey, guided by Chiron, the silent ferryman. Heracles watched as the spectral figure drifted silently on the river's surface, ushering souls across with a solemn grace that moved like a passing shadow. "Passage is not granted to the living," Chiron intoned, his voice more a gentle ripple than a rebuke. Heracles understood, for it was well known that such a barrier could not easily be crossed by those who still drew breath. Yet his mission, commanded by Eurystheus and inspired by the deities themselves, required him to find a way. Heracles explained his purpose, the urgency woven into both his words and the echoes of the divine decree that guided them. Chiron listened, the depth of Heracles' resolve painting an unmistakable picture of both strength and necessity. With a reluctant nod, Chiron agreed to ferry Heracles across. In quiet acknowledgement of the extraordinary onus bestowed upon Heracles by the gods themselves, the ferryman allowed this breach of tradition, his ancient oars slicing through the water with a silent authority. As the small craft glided across the river Styx, Heracles felt the world around him change subtly, the familiar feel of the mortal realm giving way to the shadowed pull of the underworld. It was a transition steeped in an ethereal calm, where the air bore whispers of voices long past, each life a thread in the tapestry of existence. He listened to them, each whisper echoing stories of bravery, sorrow, and hope, an eternal chorus of human experience. Reaching the far bank, Heracles stepped onto the soil of the underworld. The air itself was different here, cool and imbued with a distant sense of purpose. The lush shades of the earth held an unusual tranquility, a balance between silence and echo. Heracles sensed the presence of Athena's wisdom within his mind, a beacon of clarity that urged him onward amidst the gentle murmur of souls. Guided by this divine wisdom, he moved forward, his footsteps deliberate and steady. With each step, Heracles felt the weight of his labor transform into a dance between destiny and devotion. The realm itself opened up to him, revealing pathways forged from dream and memory, familiar yet distinctly separate from the world above. Here, in the embrace of tranquility and shadow, Heracles pressed onward, his spirit guided by the promise of redemption and the duty to fulfill what had been decreed. As Heracles continued his journey through the mist-laden paths of the underworld, the echoing whispers seemed to encourage him, their gentle tones resonating with the strength he carried within. Ready to embrace the trials ahead, Heracles moved further into the unknown, seeking the presence of those who governed this realm and whose permission he must seek. As Heracles moved through the underworld's mist-laden paths, The air felt laden with stories of ages past. The faint whispers of ancient souls caressed his ears, their tales echoing softly through the shadowed corridors. Each soul seemed to pause in recognition of the living hero walking among them, their whispers weaving a tapestry of history and respect. The path led Heracles ever deeper into the underworld, guiding him toward a place few living eyes had beheld. The mist parted to reveal the majestic palace of Hades and Persephone, its towering gates standing regal and silent. Bathed in the ethereal glow of the underworld, the palace exuded a serene strength, its architecture as timeless as the souls surrounding it. Heracles approached with reverence, understanding the magnitude of his task and the power of those he was about to meet. With humility and respect, Heracles requested an audience with the rulers of this shadowed realm. His voice, steady yet soft, carried through the mist, reaching the ears of the underworld's sovereigns. Persephone, queen of the underworld, appeared first to receive him. Her presence was serene and empathetic, exuding a calmness that settled the air around them. Heracles felt an unspoken understanding pass between them, knowing that she recognized the burden and honor of his quest. Not long after Hades himself arrived, his figure majestic and stoic. His demeanor, though imposing, was not unkind. The god of the underworld held a silent authority, his gaze steady and measured as it fell upon Heracles. In this grand hall, the living and the divine stood face to face, the quiet weight of the occasion settling like a gentle breeze upon them. With care and respect, Heracles explained his mission to capture Cerberus, the formidable guardian of the underworld. He spoke of his labors and the command of King Eurystheus, his words charged with the sincerity of one who sought to fulfill a duty beyond mortal comprehension. Heracles' courage shone through his humble request, a testament to the hero he had become through the trials he faced. Hades and Persephone listened with an attentive stillness, their expressions unreadable yet not without compassion. Heracles, in his calm determination, laid bare the necessity of his quest, seeking not to impose but to respectfully ask for their blessing. It was a moment suspended in time, where the balance of destiny and favor hung delicately. After a pause that seemed to stretch through the corridors of eternity, Hades and Persephone exchanged a glance, their silent conversation steeped in the wisdom of aeons. The underworld, in its ancient wisdom, recognized Heracles' resolve and the purity of his journey. With a nod from Hades and a gentle smile from Persephone, they granted their consent for him to proceed. This permission was not given lightly, but it was given with the weight of divine understanding. Heracles felt a serene assurance wash over him, a signal that his path was righteous and that the rulers of the underworld saw a spirit in him that was worthy of their trust. The audience with Hades and Persephone complete, Heracles prepared himself to face Cerberus, the next step in his harrowing journey. Determination coursed through him, tempered by the humility he had come to cherish. With the blessing of the underworld sovereigns, he knew the path forward was illuminated, each step guided by the courage he held within. As Heracles departed the palace gates, now with the permission to approach Cerberus, his mind was clear and his heart steady. The ancient whispers accompanied him once more, a chorus of past lives guiding him gently onward. The way was set, and his resolve deepened, readying him to meet the challenge that lay ahead. Heracles, feeling the weight of his task yet guided by an unwavering calm, ventured deeper into the depths of the underworld. The eerie flames that lined his path flickered with an ominous grace, their light casting elongated shadows across the misty corridors. In this realm where time seemed to stand still, he moved steadily forward, each step echoing softly like a whisper in the cavernous surroundings. With a heart steady and a mind clear, Heracles prepared himself for the confrontation that awaited him. The growls of Cerberus, the fearsome guardian of the underworld, began to resonate through the corridors. The sound was a deep, rumbling presence, both formidable and haunting, cutting through the silence with a chilling resonance. As Heracles continued his journey, the growls grew louder, reverberating off the walls, a testament to the power and authority that Cerberus held in this realm. Yet, Heracles remained composed, fortified by the resolve to face whatever challenge lay ahead. Cerberus emerged from the shadows, a towering figure wreathed in fire-lit hues. The three heads of the beast, each as menacing as the next, roared in unison, a symphony of sound and ferocity designed to intimidate any who dared approach. Loyally bound to Hades, the creature's daunting presence marked the lines that separated the living from the dead. Heracles, however, approached not with fear, but with respect for the guardian's role in the grand tapestry of the Underworld. Heracles approached Cerberus with a tranquil courage, stepping forward with a sense of understanding that transcended mere combativeness. He was aware of Cerberus's true nature, a creature of duty and loyalty, rather than pure malice. In a demonstration of bravery and a deep respect for the creature he faced, Heracles reached out with his hands, bearing himself to the judgment of the beast. His actions were confident and steady, his demeanor one of quiet strength. A moment of tension filled the air as Heracles held his ground, his gaze meeting the fiery eyes of Cerberus. Silence enveloped them, a testament to the raw and ancient understanding shared between mortal and beast in this timeless realm. Heracles' unwavering presence captured Cerberus' attention, an unspoken acknowledgement passing between them. It was a moment that held no fear, but a mutual recognition of spirit and purpose. Cerberus, recognizing the courage and fearlessness in Heracles, ceased his assault. The ferocious roars subsided into a rumbling growl that seemed almost contemplative. Heracles stood firm, projecting a gentle authority that spoke to his own understanding of duty and perseverance. It was this calm resolve that touched the heart of the Underworld's guardian, allowing Heracles to take the next step in his mission. With deft skill and a reassured confidence, Heracles gently bound Cerberus. The bonds were not of force, but of consent and understanding. Heracles, having gained permission through earnest bravery and respect, prepared to escort the guardian beast from its station. The moment was not of conquest, but of partnership, sealed by an agreement that transcended words. Now, with Cerberus subdued by mutual resolve, Heracles stood ready to fulfill the task entrusted to him by both mortal king and immortal ruler. His heart was filled with a quiet sense of accomplishment, knowing that he had faced and tamed one of the greatest challenges that the Underworld had to offer. As the Underworld's shadows whispered in their secret languages, Heracles found within himself a deeper understanding of balance between strength and humility. With this task completed, Heracles prepared to make his way back to the world above. His mission fulfilled, he was left contemplating the serenity of a journey that had tested not only his physical prowess, but the very essence of his courage and humility. The path that now lay behind and before him was soaked in rich lessons of duties embraced and challenges overcome, leading him back towards the light with newfound wisdom. With Cerberus subdued by his side, Heracles took his first steps back through the winding paths of the Underworld. The atmosphere was different now, with a gentle tranquility surrounding him, perhaps a reflection of his own inner peace. As they moved along, the myriad souls that inhabited this shadowed realm watched quietly, their whispers carrying an air of admiration for the hero who dared and succeeded. It was a path marked by silent acknowledgement, a testament to Heracles' strength and humility in accomplishing what many would deem impossible. Despite the sense of weight lifting from his shoulders, Heracles knew his journey was not yet over. As if sensing the need for guidance, Hermes appeared at his side, his presence reassuring and infused with divine grace. This heavenly guide understood the intricacies of passage between realms better than any other, and with a nod, Hermes offered to see them safely to the edge of the living world. Together, they walked, and the transition from the depths unfolded smoothly, the path untangling itself in the calm assurances of Hermes' presence. Approaching the river Styx once again, Heracles felt a blend of emotions. It was a boundary he had crossed with trepidation on his way into the underworld, and now it marked the return to his own world. Chiron, the enigmatic ferryman of the Styx, awaited them at the river's edge, his boat resting upon the dark, mirrored waters. Seeing Cerberus subdued by Heracles' side, Chiron's eyes held a glimmer of approval. Without words, he gestured them aboard, his tacit approval a quiet accolade to the hero's accomplishment. The boat cut across the surface in serene silence, guided by the steady hands of Chiron. As Heracles stood upon the vessel, he could feel a subtle shift within himself, as though the binding sense of duty had transitioned into a gentle tide of fulfillment. The journey back across these sacred waters became a moment of reflection, accompanied by the rhythmic lap of the river against the boat. It was here, amid the tranquil voyage, that Heracles understood the profound transformation in his soul, an understanding of both his strength and his vulnerability. Before long, the other side of the river came into view. This threshold was more than a physical divide. It was the boundary between past tribulations and future possibilities. As their feet touched the solid ground of the living realm, the change in atmosphere was palpable. The cool shadows of the underworld receded, replaced by the warm glow of dawn breaking across the horizon. It was a welcome caress of sunlight that greeted Heracles and Cerberus, heralding their emergence into the world of the living. Standing upon the familiar soil of Greece, Heracles felt a swell of serene triumph. Cerberus, the fearsome guardian of the underworld, now walked calmly at his side, a silent companion in this newfound light. Together, they moved forward, stepping away from the river that had borne witness to their passage between realms. It was a moment of gentle renewal, the world welcoming the return of a hero with open arms and golden light. As Heracles looked around, the familiar sights of home enveloped him. The landscape of Greece stretched before them, picturesque in its simplicity, with rolling hills and ancient olive groves bathed in the soft amber hues of morning. Each step forward was cushioned by the knowledge of a challenge met and overcome, infusing the air with a sense of quiet accomplishment. The path ahead, leading towards the courts of King Eurystheus, felt charged with a significance that extended beyond a mere labor fulfilled. Before him lay the journey to present Cerberus to King Eurystheus, a task that carried its own weight and consequences. Yet for now, Heracles allowed himself to savor the tranquility of the moment, the gentle rhythm of earth beneath his feet, the steadfast presence of Cerberus beside him, and the mellow promise of Thade. Day unfurling with the dawn. In this serene interlude, Heracles found reassurance, knowing that every step forward was part of a path less traveled, yet meant to be walked with grace and courage. The time had come to move towards the next chapter of his labor, the presentation of Cerberus before Eurystheus. In the comfort of companionship and the quietude of the morning light, Heracles took a deep breath, steeling himself for the encounter that lay ahead. The journey had transformed him, and with that change came a readiness to face whatever the world chose to present. The warm embrace of Greece, under the early autumn sun, stood as a reminder that the hero's quest was as much about the journey as it was about the destination, a journey that continued with each step he chose to take. As the morning sun cast a golden glow over the ancient city of Mycenae, Heracles approached the palace gates with the majestic Cerberus at his side. The path leading to King Eurystheus was lined with the curious faces of the people, each drawn by tales of Heracles' return from the depths of the underworld. The formidable three-headed guardian Cerberus walked obediently alongside the hero, their presence a testament to Heracles' extraordinary accomplishment. Word of Heracles and his magnificent companions spread like wildfire through the streets. The townsfolk gathered, their voices mingling with the crisp morning breeze, filled with awe and disbelief. Few could have imagined that anyone, even someone as renowned as Heracles, could tame the fearsome guardian of the underworld. Mothers whispered to their children, pointing towards the hero and the beast, eyes wide with a mix of fear and admiration. Upon reaching the entrance of the palace, the bustling sound of amazement rose as a wave. The assembly parted in hushed respect, allowing Heracles to proceed towards the king with the formidable beast in tow. Eurystheus, hearing the commotion, dared a peek from within the safety of his lavish abode, only for his eyes to widen at the apparition of Cerberus. His astonishment was so profound that he retreated into a large, sturdy jar, leaving only the echo of his surprise to linger in the air. Cerberus stood solemn and grand before the palace, a creature of myth now made real before the eyes of mortals. Heracles, with his usual calm demeanor, seemed to blend seamlessly with the creature at his side, fulfilling the promise he had made to the king. Eurystheus, despite being in hiding, could overhear the murmurs of admiration and the respectful whispers circulating among his court. Each voice carried tales of Heracles' bravery and strength, stories that would echo through the corridors of time. With a gentle nod of acknowledgement to the beast, Heracles unbound Cerberus, allowing him to roam free once more. The beast looked towards Heracles with an expression that, if not for its fearsome facade, seemed almost appreciative. Cerberus then turned towards the familiar call of the underworld, disappearing as mysteriously as he had arrived, a silent guardian returning to his eternal duty. In the warm light of morning, Heracles stood alone before the palace, his journey reaching its culmination. The labors, each a testament to his strength and resolve, had led him to this moment of serene fulfillment. The strains of past challenges ebbed away, replaced by a quiet sense of accomplishment, the result of both struggle and the unwavering guidance of the gods. The court continued to murmur in reverence, acknowledging both the man and the myth he had become. Heracles' figure, etched against the backdrop of the palace gates, was not merely that of a hero who had completed his labors, but of a man who had found redemption. The fulfillment of his task carried with it the weight and wisdom of his trials, all embraced with humility and courage. As the people of Mycenae began to disperse, returning to their lives with stories to tell and memories to cherish, Heracles remained momentarily still. He allowed himself the luxury of a deep breath, the air filled with the sense of a new beginning. For in the quiet after the applause, there lay the promise of reflection and understanding, a journey internal, just as profound as the one he had overcome. The day continued to unfold, and with it, Heracles' resolve grew stronger. The completion of his final labor marked not the end but a serene transition into whatever lay ahead. He knew, deep within, that the lessons learned and strength gained would serve as guiding lights in future endeavors. His eyes lingered on the road before him, overlaid with the warmth of the morning sun. And yet, within him was the realization of the boundless road still unwinding before his feet. Heracles, having successfully completed his final labor, found himself searching for tranquility beyond the bustling Mycenaean city. He walked towards a quiet hill just outside Mycenae, where the first light of dawn cast long, golden shadows over the landscape. Seated atop the gentle slope, he allowed himself a moment of repose, letting his mind journey through the memories of his arduous trials. Each labor had tested him, physically, mentally, and morally. The echoes of past feats whispered through his thoughts. There was the Nemean lion, its golden mane almost impervious to any weapon, yet subdued by his sheer strength and ingenuity. The great Hydra of Lerna, whose many heads grew back doubly when severed, had challenged his persistence and cleverness. the enormous Erymanthian boar, the golden-horned hind of Artemis, each guardian or menace had taught him valuable lessons about patience and restraint. As Heracles recalled these past challenges, he marveled at the humility he had cultivated along his journey. He had not always been humble. His early feats were marked by a sense of bravado, a desire to prove himself the greatest hero of Greece. Yet in those quieter trials, where he found himself in the depths of the underworld, facing not just beasts but the shadows of his own missteps, he discovered that true strength lay not in overpowering others but in mastering oneself. The patience required to subdue Cerberus, the terrible guardian of Hades, had been a testament to this newfound wisdom. The weight of past misdeeds, acts of rage and impulsiveness, felt lighter with each completed task. As he sat on the hill, Heracles acknowledged this lightness, a sign of redemption in the eyes of both mortals and gods. The labors were not just penance, but a path to inner growth, a symphony of challenges met with courage and integrity. Gratitude filled Heracles' heart toward the deities who had subtly guided his steps over the years. Athena, whose wisdom had been a constant presence, and Hermes, always smoothing his way with agility and diplomacy, were held in special reverence. Their roles had been pivotal in providing balance, helping him see beyond mere physical strength to the virtues of wisdom and humility. Understanding now that he was never alone, Heracles silently thanked them for their guidance on a path that was as spiritual as it was heroic. It became clear to Heracles that the power he now wielded was not solely from his immense physical prowess, but from the rich tapestry of courage and humility interwoven through his experiences. The great hero understood the delicate balance required in carrying such power with grace. It was not the feats themselves that were important, but the lessons learned in their execution. Realizing he had redeemed himself, Heracles felt a profound sense of peace washing over him. The god's eyes, he imagined, were no longer stern but warm with approval, reflecting the change within him. The journey had polished him like a stone, revealing the inner luster that had been hidden beneath the surface of his former self. Heracles smiled as he looked out toward the horizon, the fresh morning light spreading across the land like a soft blanket. The sun, a radiant orb climbing steadily into the sky, paralleled his feelings of hope and renewal. Though his official labors were complete, Heracles knew his personal journey continued. Each sunrise brought with it new possibilities and challenges, and he was eager to face them with the humility and courage hard-earned during his trials. Resolved and at peace, Heracles stood and stretched, filled with a quiet confidence about the future. His path remained open and undetermined, but where there had once been uncertainty, now there was only a clear and serene determination. As he turned back toward Mycenae, his heart was light, guided not just by physical might but a newly embraced wisdom. As the news of Heracles' triumphant return spread like wildfire throughout the land of Greece, anticipation and excitement surged through every town and village. Word of his successful journey to the Underworld, capturing and taming the mighty Cerberus, brought awe to every listener. Communities gathered to eagerly await the arrival of the hero who had faced what seemed impossible. Heracles entered these towns surrounded by an aura of calm assurance. The people lined the streets cheering and waving as he passed through, humbled by their adoration. Many had feared that this labor, the 12th and most perilous of all, would prove his undoing. Yet here he was, a testament to the strength of will and spirit. His presence alone offered them hope and inspiration, reminding them of the relentless spirit of humanity. Celebrations erupted in honor of Heracles' return, each more joyous than the last. In every corner, feasts flourished with the richest fruits of the harvest and the finest wines. Fires burned brightly against the backdrop of the setting sun, casting a warm and inviting light. Musicians played tunes that echoed through the crisp autumn air, while dancers moved with jubilant steps, their faces alight with happiness. Amidst the revelry, storytellers took their places, recounting for eager listeners Heracles' remarkable venture into the depths. Children, with eyes wide and hearts racing, listened in rapt attention to tales of his courage and wisdom, their imaginations ignited by the mythic scope of his journey. Here was a tale of daring, a true hero's saga, rich with lessons of bravery and humility. Through all this, Heracles moved with a gentle humility, aware that the accolades were as much a tribute to those who had guided him as to his own resolve. He acknowledged the people warmly, offering words of thanks and encouragement. His humble acceptance endeared him further to the hearts of many, leaving a lasting imprint of a leader who valued wisdom over pride. The elders of these communities, wise with years and experience, spoke openly of Heracles as a symbol of strength and redemption. His journey had been one of not just physical endurance, but also of profound personal growth. They recognized in him the embodiment of a spirit that had overcome not only the trials of his labors, but also his own inner battles for forgiveness and acceptance. Everywhere he went, tokens of gratitude were presented to Heracles. These gifts, though varied in form and value, all carried the same heartfelt message, a deep and abiding respect for the hero who had returned to them. Some offered finely crafted pieces of art, while others gifted rare and precious stones, simple tokens of their appreciation for his deeds. In return, Heracles offered blessings and protection to these communities, bestowing upon them the same strength and wisdom that had carried him through his trials. His words, filled with sincerity and conviction, reassured them of his ongoing commitment to their well-being. He served as a beacon of hope, his presence a reminder of the enduring bonds of fraternity and fellowship. As evening settled and lanterns glowed softly beneath the opening curtain of night, the village celebrations continued in harmony, ebbing gently into the rhythm of festivity. Heracles, surrounded by the warm lights and joyous faces, took in the scene with profound gratitude. Here was a tapestry of humanity at its finest, weaving together the threads of a community bound by shared values and collective history. Despite the accolades and admiration, Heracles knew deep within that his journey was far from over. The echoes of his past labors, coupled with the promise of what lay ahead, filled him with a serene determination. Life's journey, continuous and unending, beckoned him forward with the promise of new adventures. With each breath of the cool, clear autumn air, Heracles felt the gentle tug of his heart leading him onward. The celebrations around him spoke of triumphs past, but the horizon whispered of new dreams and journeys yet to unfold. The path ahead shimmered with the allure of the unknown, drawing him forward into the future with courage renewed and wisdom hard-won. As dawn cast its gentle light over Mount Olympus, the gods assembled, their forms luminous against the celestial blue sky. The air shimmered with an ethereal glow, carrying whispers of Heracles' deeds, which had reverberated across the mortal realm. It was time for the deities to deliberate on the feats of the son of Zeus, who had ventured into the depths of the Underworld and returned triumphant. Seated on his grand throne, Zeus, the king of gods, surveyed the gathering with a benevolent gaze. His voice, full of pride and authority, broke the serene silence that cradled their divine assembly. "Heracles, my son, has shown remarkable courage and determination," he declared, nodding in approval. Every labor he undertook seemed like a poetic testament to his unwavering spirit and strength. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, recalled the qualities that had guided Heracles through his trials. Indeed, his humility and wisdom shone brightly in the darkness of the underworld, she added, her calm, wise presence a soothing counterpoint to Zeus's paternal pride. Heracles' journey, she explained, was not just a physical trial, but also a test of his inner virtues, which he passed with grace and dignity. Hera, who in the past had been a fervent critic of Heracles, watched the proceedings with a thoughtful expression, The years had softened her stance, and now she found herself moved by the hero's transformation. Silently she nodded, acknowledging Heracles' virtue and the wisdom he had gained through his challenges. Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, remembered the chilling echoes of Heracles' challenges echoing through the realms of the Underworld. The trials he faced were as vast and deep as the ocean, Poseidon mused, a gentle swell of admiration coloring his words. Yet, like the tides that rise and fall, Heracles' courage never wavered, and his resolve remained as steadfast as the enduring myth of the sea itself. As each deity confirmed Heracles' accomplishments, a consensus emerged. The hero had indeed surpassed all expectations. The labors which had once been deemed insurmountable had been conquered through his strength, resolve, and wisdom. It was decided that Heracles would be honored with a blessing of eternal glory, a testament to his journey and the virtues he embodied. Their decision resonated through Olympus, a gentle chorus of approval that transcended the boundaries of the divine and mortal worlds. The god's blessing flowed forth like a tranquil river, reaching Heracles as he went about his daily life in Greece. Though distant from Olympus, Heracles felt the sublime presence of the gods enveloping him, whispering of their favor and approval. This divine acknowledgement settled gently into Heracles' heart, reinforcing the lessons he had learned throughout his arduous journey. He understood that his labors had not only strained his physical limits, but had also fostered growth within his soul. The acknowledgement from Olympus was a quiet reminder of the balance between strength and humility, courage and wisdom, which he had achieved. With their approval settled like a radiant mantle around his shoulders, Heracles felt bolstered for whatever lay ahead. The path before him was no longer solely his to tread, but was shared with the wisdom of the ages and the blessings of the eternal. As the luster of Olympus's praise continued to envelop him, Heracles considered his life's next steps, his heart truly at peace. In a world now blessed by his deeds, Heracles prepared to embrace new adventures, armed with wisdom hard-earned and a soul enriched. Though his labors had ended, his journey continued, guided by newfound clarity and the serenity of divine favor. The gentle call of his next adventures awaited, whispering promises of mysteries yet to be unveiled as Heracles stood ready, renewed, and reaffirmed. The warm afternoon sun cast a serene glow over the Greek landscape, as Heracles found himself in the comforting embrace of familiar surroundings. After his arduous journey to the underworld and the successful completion of his final labor, he turned his thoughts to rekindling relationships with those who mattered most to him. As he approached the home of old friends and family, his presence was greeted with joyful smiles and open arms. The bonds forged through shared trials and challenges had woven a tapestry of connection that time and distance could not unravel. Heracles' early encounters were filled with reminiscing and jovial recounting of his mighty labors. Laughter flowed freely as tales of his adventures in the underworld, bravely confronting Cerberus and earning the favor of the gods, were woven into the fabric of familiar stories shared by the hearth. Friends and family gathered around, their faces lit with admiration and affection as Heracles spoke. With every anecdote, he relived the moments when courage and humility intertwined to help him fulfill his tasks. The return of Heracles was also an opportunity to reconnect with old allies who had stood by him in former days of strife. These warriors, hardened yet cheerful, found joy in seeing their companion not merely triumphant but transformed. Together, they honored the memories of past battles and celebrated the growth that had emerged from them. In the shared space of camaraderie, strength was not just in ability, but in the bond that connected them, a bond that only deepened with the passage of time. Heracles' journey extended beyond the familiar as he met new warriors eager to learn from the hero who had captured the mighty Cerberus. To these fresh faces, Heracles imparted wisdom acquired through his arduous quests. He spoke of resilience and fortitude, of finding strength in humility and revealing courage in kindness. With each lesson shared, the seeds of future generations' valor were sown, as these young warriors listened with rapt attention, drawn in by the depth of his experiences. Amidst his new and long-standing friends, Heracles sought moments of quiet reflection and reconciliation. Lingering regrets from past deeds occasionally surfaced in his mind, leading him to seek solace with those who had been wronged by his actions. In these deeply personal encounters, Heracles spoke with a quiet sincerity that underscored his desire for atonement. Words of apology and understanding offered a balm to old wounds, healing rifts, and renewing trust with a gentle commitment to harmony. The threads of humility and compassion wove into the fabric of Heracles' life, deepening his relationships and endearing him further to loved ones. As he embraced this newfound humility, Heracles recognized that true strength was not merely a physical feat, but a reflection of character fostered by each soul encountered on his path. The profound ties with family, friends, and adversaries alike enriched his life, providing a sense of purpose and belonging in a world he had sworn to protect. Heracles understood that his journey was shared by many, a tapestry of lives intersecting in shared purpose and support. His achievements, while monumental, were not his alone, and he stood proudly in acknowledgement of the collective strength that buoyed him on. He felt immense gratitude for Athena and Hermes, whose guidance had illuminated his path, for his family who lit his heart with warmth, and for every soul who had left an indelible mark upon his life. With this deep appreciation of the bonds that sustained him, Heracles felt an unshakable steadiness, a quiet, resilient strength that assured him of his place in the world. Each relationship, each interaction had added layers to the hero's saga, revealing the complexity within a person who was not just a legendary figure, but also a cherished brother, friend, and mentor. Having found peace within himself and with others, Heracles stood amid the gentle sunlight filtering through autumn leaves, contemplating the future. He held the knowledge that whatever awaited him, he would face it fortified by the love and support of those whose lives he enriched, just as they enriched his. And so, as the day dipped toward a tranquil dusk, Heracles, ever humble and resolute, gazed forward with eyes set on new horizons yet to be discovered. In the gentle embrace of a late autumn afternoon, Heracles found himself away from the clamors of past deeds, embracing a particularly tranquil day. The trials and tribulations of capturing Cerberus now behind him, he ventured to a serene grove, the air fragrant with the scent of ancient olive trees. These were no ordinary trees. Their gnarled branches carried the weight of centuries, a testament to the enduring beauty of nature. As Heracles walked among them, he felt a profound connection, as though the spirit of the earth welcomed him with a calming embrace. The gentle rustle of leaves and the distant songs of birds played a harmonious melody, setting the scene for a day dedicated to solitude and peace. The grove's understated elegance provided a perfect backdrop for Heracles to unwind. Here, the blend of soft gold light filtering through the foliage and the variegated palette of olive greens enveloped him in warmth. The mythical hero, who had once grappled with challenges beyond mortal realms, now relished the simplicity of the moment. Each step resonated deeply, echoing a mindful appreciation of the surroundings that offered both solace and rejuvenation. His footsteps eventually led him to a clear stream that meandered through the grove. The water shimmered in the sunlight, its surface as smooth and clear as glass. Heracles knelt beside it, cupping his hands to bring the pristine water to his lips. The coolness invigorated him, a refreshing caress against the weariness of countless labors. He took the opportunity to indulge in the stream's restorative embrace, washing away the remnants of past struggles. Here, under the gentle watch of ancient trees and the sun's tender kiss, renewal found him once more. Heracles settled near the stream, closing his eyes and allowing the world to fall away. In the silence that ensued, he embraced meditation, a time-honored practice to seek inner quiet. Through this silent introspection, Heracles delved into the layers of his soul, unearthing tranquility that stretched beyond his recent undertakings. The grove served as both sanctuary and muse, emboldening his spirit with insights that transcended the physical realm. In this serene setting, even the simplest acts became profound. Heracles savored a modest meal of fruits and bread, each bite taken with deliberate care. The flavors, unadulterated and pure, reminded him of the unpretentious joys life offered. Unburdened by the expectations of heroism or the gaze of admirers, he was free to immerse himself in the essence of being, relishing the taste of sustenance in its most fundamental form. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in hues of soft oranges and warm reds, Heracles took stock of his life's direction. The labors were behind him, leaving a clean slate upon which his future adventures could be etched. In this moment of reflection, he acknowledged the path that lay ahead was as open as the vast Greek sky. There was a newfound liberty in having fulfilled his duties, allowing room for new explorations and aspirations to take root. The day wound gently to a close, Heracles' heart swelling with gratitude. Gratitude for the peace that colored the day, for the lessons etched into his being by the hands of gods and men alike, and for the simple joys lingering in each moment of stillness. The time alone had become a reminder of life's delicate balance, how triumph coexisted with humility, and how strength could be found in the quietest corners of existence. As twilight descended, Heracles rose from his contemplative position, ready for whatever lay beyond. The grove was now embedded in his memory, a cherished haven of tranquility, its lessons inscribed on his soul. He began his walk away from the grove, each step infused with the promise of new beginnings. There was an acceptance of the adventures still unseen and untouched territories yet to be traversed. With peace woven into his very being, Heracles was indeed ready to embrace the unknown paths before him, gently propelled by the day's serenity into new horizons, filled with endless possibilities. As the setting sun bathed the ancient landscape in hues of orange and soft red, Heracles found himself drawn to a sacred temple that stood majestically along his path. Here, amidst the warm embrace of twilight hues, he paused to offer his thanks and prayers to the gods who had guided him. His heart swelled with gratitude, not just for the triumphs of the past, but for the wisdom and humility imparted by the journey itself. In the solemn quiet of the temple, Heracles felt a profound sense of peace, knowing he had fulfilled his duties with honor and integrity. Seeking guidance for the future, Heracles spoke with the oracles residing in the temple. Their words, ethereal and distant, spoke of a horizon alive with possibilities. They foretold of new adventures that lay waiting, paths of heroism yet to be tread, and an eventual serenity that would embrace him among the stars. Heracles listened intently, absorbing the prophecies with a calm understanding that life's journey was ongoing and eternal. As he departed from the temple, Heracles met pilgrims on their own quests, each seeking their own truths and paths. They shared tales under the twilight skies, their voices mingling like a gentle breeze rustling through olive branches. Heracles, though a celebrated hero, found camaraderie in their shared experiences, a reminder that every journey is unique yet connected through the threads of courage and pursuit of betterment. Heracles marveled at the land stretching before him. The ever-changing landscape of Greece, with its rolling hills and verdant valleys, mirrored the shifts within his own soul. Each step forward revealed new facets of a world he thought he knew well, yet which offered endless mystery and charm. This realization filled him with a renewed appreciation for the world's infinite wonders. Embracing the unknown, Heracles found his spirit invigorated. The weight of his past, once a burden, now seemed to melt away in the warmth of the evening air. The path ahead, though shrouded in mystery, beckoned him with a whisper of untold adventures. Heracles felt the stirrings of optimism and purpose rise within him, a clarion call to continue exploring, learning, and growing. In this reflective pause, he acknowledged that life's journey never truly ends. Each chapter, each completed endeavor, opens the door to the next horizon. Heracles treasured this understanding, knowing that the essence of his being was tied to the perpetual odyssey of human experience. His trials had refined him, his triumphs defined him, but the road ahead promised more than mere adventures. It promised the continuing evolution of self. With a deep breath, Heracles set his sight on distant horizons and new beginnings. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with twilight colors. In those moments, Heracles embraced the entirety of his path, the challenges overcome and the possibilities yet to unfold. Life was a tapestry, woven with threads of hardship and hope, triumph and tranquility, and he was one among many who wove its patterns. As Heracles continued his path beneath the endless sky, the landscape before him seemed to stretch infinitely, a testament to the vastness of both the world and the human spirit. The road ahead, while uncertain, filled him with a profound sense of excitement and peace, the promise of new experiences and the wisdom to come.